Get ready for an emotional love story. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and let's follow this story together. It was a morning like any other. I woke up at 6:30, as usual, with that kind of tiredness that never goes away since I became a mum. My daughter, Clarina, was in the crib beside the bed, sleeping deeply. She was only 4 months old at the time, so tiny, but she already filled up everything inside me. The first thing I did was lean over and kiss her on her forehead. I always do that, even when I'm running late. It's my way of starting the day with a little bit of love, you know? We still live actually, in a small ground floor apartment, just 2 rooms, a kitchen, and a cramped bathroom. But it's what I can afford on my cleaner's salary. I'm not complaining. I've lived in worse places. I made myself a strong black coffee, the kind that punches you awake, no sugar. Sugar became a luxury ever since Clarina was born. While the water boiled, I was already mentally organizing the day. Get to the company by 8, clean the 3 floors of the office building, take care of the meeting rooms, and pray that the milk I left with Rosa would be enough for my daughter. Rosa is my neighbor, a 60-year-old widow with no children, a blessing in my life. She offered to take care of Clarina when I had to go back to work. And honestly, without her, I have no idea what I would have done. She always says, "A child brings joy to a home." Never asked me for anything, only that I provide the ingredients for the porridge she sometimes made for Clarina. At 7:15, I knocked on her door. Rosa showed up with that usual warm smile, already dressed, like watching over Clarina was the best part of her day. "Good morning, dear." Our little one slept well, only woke up twice. That instantly calmed me down. I handed over the bag with diapers, ointment, bottles of breast milk I'd pumped during the night. I said goodbye to my daughter with a heavy heart, like always, and left on my bike. The ride to Teleconnect took about 15 minutes. It was the only moment of the day when I felt some peace, ironically. Just me, my bike, and the empty morning streets. Walking into the company felt like stepping into a different world. A big glass building, 4 floors, a fancy reception. I'd been working there for 2 years, and I knew every corner. The meeting rooms on the 2nd floor, the dirtiest bathrooms, the pantry where there were always leftover snacks. It was all part of my rhythm. When I got there, I ran into Inez, the cleaning supervisor. A tough woman, but fair, the kind who's been working hard her whole life. "Good morning, Joanna. How's our little girl?" "Growing every day, Inez. Thanks for asking." She knew how hard it was for me to leave my baby so young, and she gave me a look full of kindness that nearly undid me, but I kept my smile. Rosa is like a second mother. Inez always said she could count on me. That gave me some comfort. A sense that someone truly saw how hard I was trying. I started my shift by heading straight to the 4th floor, where the company president's office was. The owner, Wagner Mora, was traveling, so that floor was empty. I took the chance to do a deep clean of his office. A huge space full of books, a beautiful dark wooden desk, and an amazing city view. Sometimes when I was alone in there, I'd imagine what it would be like to live a different life. To have studied, earned a degree, wear nice clothes, sit at one of those desks. But reality always pulled me back. I had a daughter. I had bills. Daydreaming doesn't pay rent. I went down to the other floors and kept working. Some employees greeted me, others didn't even glance my way. I'd gotten used to that. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Rosa. She never called while I was at work. My heart started pounding. I answered. On the other end, her voice was trembling. "Joanna, sweetie, Clarina won't stop crying. I tried, giving her the bottle, tried everything, but she only wants the breast." My legs almost gave out. That helpless feeling flooded me. I was far. My daughter was crying, and I couldn't do anything. I took a deep breath. "Rosa, can you bring her here? I'll figure something out." She hesitated. "Are you sure? Won't it be a problem?" Clarinha is more important than anything. Bring her. I hung up and went straight to talk to Inez. She noticed right away something was wrong. It's Clarinha, I said, almost crying. She's not taking the bottle, only wants to breastfeed. Rosa's bringing her here. Inez looked me in the eyes. First, your daughter comes first. Always. Second, Mr. Wagner is traveling. Use his office to breastfeed. I'll stand guard so no one comes up. That hit me. It was more than I expected to hear. Thank you, Inez. Really? Half an hour later, Rosa arrived with Clarinha. The baby was red from crying so much. The second she saw me, she calmed down. That broke me. I took her in my arms and kissed her tiny face. Mommy's here. We went up to the 4th floor, stepped into Mr. Wagner's office, and I sat down in his leather chair. I discreetly unbuttoned my shirt and let Clarinha nurse. She latched on with such hunger, like she'd missed me the entire day. Rosa sat across from the desk, watching us with a soft smile. You two have such a special bond, she said. I've never seen anything like it. I couldn't even respond. I just kissed the top of my daughter's head. It felt like the world stopped at that moment. Just her and me. Everything was peaceful again, but fate loves to play with us, right? While I was breastfeeding, I heard the elevator. Inez stood at the door. Someone's coming up. Better wrap things up soon. I looked down at Clarinha. She was still nursing. Just 5 more minutes. Inez stood watch. But the person who stepped into the hallway was the last one I expected, Wagner Moura, the owner of the company. He had come back from his trip early. When he saw Inez there, he was surprised. Is someone in my office? She tried to stall him, but it didn't work. He slowly opened the door and saw me, sitting there, breastfeeding my daughter in his chair. At that moment, I felt my face flush with heat. My first reaction was to sit up straighter and try to cover myself, but he spoke in a calm voice, so different from what I expected. Don't get up. Go on. Rosa tried to stand too, clearly uncomfortable, but he asked us to stay. Please stay. Then slowly he stepped closer, like he didn't want to disturb something sacred. What's her name? Clarinha, I replied softly, not knowing where to look. She wouldn't take the bottle, sir. I'm sorry I brought her here. He just smiled gently. She's beautiful. May I? He reached out a finger, and Clarinha, as if she already knew him, grabbed it in her tiny hand. He laughed. Look at that grip. She's going to be determined, just like her mom. I could barely speak. He seemed genuinely touched by the scene. Inez came in right after, and before she could say anything, he reassured her, "You both did the right thing." Then he just sat nearby, watching us like he was witnessing something new to him. Are you single? He asked. I hesitated, but answered, yes, it's just me and her. What about the father? He's not in the picture. He nodded respectfully, then asked how long I needed, and I told him just a few more minutes. He said I could finish right there, that he didn't mind, but he couldn't take his eyes off us. It was like he was discovering what real love looked like in real time. When I finished breastfeeding, Clarinha let out a loud burp and we all laughed. Even him, a serious man, CEO of a company, laughing with us. It felt strange and comforting all at once. I thanked him, of course. I stood up, fixed my blouse, gathered our things. This won't happen again, sir. But he stopped me. Joanna? Yes? You're an admirable mother. Clarinha's lucky to have you. I didn't expect that. It caught me completely off guard. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. After we left, he stayed behind, sitting in the same chair I'd just been in. He looked deep in thought. The next day, he arrived early at the office. Marina, his assistant, told me he had asked for my file, full name, work record, where I lived. Everything. Not in a creepy way, just curious. He wanted to know who I really was, and over the next few days, he started showing up, around the building more often. His excuse was work, but I knew he was watching, and every time I went in to clean his office, he started conversations. "How's Clarinha?" "She's good, thank you." "Did she go back to taking the bottle?" "Yes, Rosa is amazing." The talks became more and more personal. One day, he asked me, "Who takes care of you, Joanna?" I was speechless. No one had ever asked me that. "I take care of myself," I replied. "I have to." And he said, "That's not the same thing." That hit me hard. He really saw me, not as an employee, but as a woman, as a person. Me, someone people usually overlooked. When he asked why I thought he was being kind to me, I answered honestly. Because it feels like, for the first time, someone actually sees me. And he confessed, "On Thursday I saw something I've never seen before. Real love, purpose. You have something I've spent my life trying to find." That shook me. I wasn't used to this kind of attention, especially not from someone like him, a wealthy, important man, but it felt sincere. He asked me about Clarinha's father. I told him the truth, that he disappeared when he found out I was pregnant, that I gave up my dreams for my daughter, that she became my one and only goal. Wagner listened like no one ever had before. When he invited me to dinner, I hesitated. "At your place?" I asked. "If you prefer, we can do it at yours." We ended up agreeing he'd bring the food. It would be simple. "But at work, you're still my boss and I'm still the cleaner," I made clear. "This is separate." He nodded. "Of course, it will be official." On Saturday, he arrived at exactly 7 p.m. He brought a bouquet of flowers and 2 bags of Italian food, even dessert. Clarinha, in my arms, reached out to him, and he picked her up so gently it made me emotional. While I was setting the table, he talked to her like they were old friends. "Your mommy has great taste, huh?" I heard him from the kitchen, smiling without even realizing it. We had dinner, and he told me he had cooked it himself. I learned out of necessity. I've lived alone for years. I asked if he didn't feel lonely. He said that until that week, he thought he was fine. But after seeing me with Clarinha, he realized he'd been mistaking independence for loneliness. We talked about everything: purpose, exhaustion, love. He asked me what my dreams were. I told him I wanted to go back to school, give Clarinha a better future, maybe own a little house with a yard. He said I had a gift for working with people, maybe human resources. I started to believe it could be possible. For the first time, someone believed in me without looking down on me. After dinner, once Clarinha had fallen asleep in her little baby seat, the conversation got even more personal. Wagner asked, "Would you help me rediscover what really matters?" I didn't know what to say. I just looked at him, wondering if this was really happening. A man like him, talking to me like that. If it's to show you the world through my eyes, I think I can try. In that moment, we made a silent agreement. He touched my arm gently, respectfully, as if to say he wasn't in a rush, that he'd respect my pace. When he left that night, I stayed standing at the door for a while. My heart was racing. Something told me this might change my life, and it did. In the days that followed, Wagner started showing up more often. Outside of work, we saw each other on weekends. He brought little things for Clarinha, a mobile, educational toys, baby clothes, but always with care. He always asked first. One day I joked, "You don't have to bring a gift every time." He replied seriously, "I know I don't have to. I want to." And then added, "But I don't want you to think I'm here out of pity. If I thought that, Wagner, you wouldn't even be here." Everything was going fine until Clarinha got sick. It started with a strange cry, refusing the bottle, then a fever. I took her to the public health clinic, but there were nearly 50 people ahead of us. Desperate, I called Wagner. She has a high fever. I'm at the clinic, but there's a long wait. He didn't think twice. There's a private children's hospital 10 minutes from you. Take her there. I'll meet you. I rushed there with my heart in my throat. Clarinha was burning up. At the hospital, we were seen quickly. It was an ear infection. Painful, but not serious. Wagner arrived while we were still being seen. He paid for everything: consultation, tests, medicine. I can't accept this, I said. You'll have to. Her health is more important. That night, he made me an offer. The company was launching a new employee benefits project, and he wanted me to be part of it. You understand better than anyone what the staff really needs. Who better to help suggest improvements? I was stunned. It was a real opportunity, a job beyond cleaning. I said yes, but with one condition. I want everything done right, with a contract, signed papers, no favoritism. He smiled. Of course, it'll be official. The next few weeks were a mix of joy and stress. At work, we kept everything professional, but it was impossible not to notice the stares. The rumors started out quiet, then grew louder. Margarete, a cleaning co-worker, pulled me aside one day. So now you've got your own office. It's just a temporary project, I replied. But she pushed further. Oh, sure. Special project. And how did you get that exactly? Because I'm capable. But she didn't stop. Everyone knows you're with the boss. That hit me like a slap. I stayed silent, didn't know what to say. I knew you were jealous, Margarete, but I didn't know you were mean too. She just laughed. Honey, nothing stays secret here. I went home that day with my head boiling, my heart aching. That night, I told Wagner everything. People are talking. They think I only got this job because of you. He wanted to go confront Ricardo, another employee who'd made some comments too, but I stopped him. If you defend me, it'll only look worse. He understood. Then how about this? You present the project to the board of directors, alone. Show everyone you belong here. I froze. I've never spoken at a board meeting, but you know this project better than any consultant, so we spent the entire weekend preparing. At my place, with Clarinha in my lap, diaper changes in between spreadsheets. He cooked. I revised slides. It was intimate, real. For the first time, I felt like I belonged to something bigger. On Tuesday, I walked into that boardroom with my heart pounding in my throat. A dozen directors sat around the table. I presented everything, spoke clearly, answered questions, showed numbers. When I finished, there was a pause, then applause. I walked out of the room with tears in my eyes. Wagner was waiting for me in the hallway. I told you, you'd crush it. That day was a turning point, but not everything was easy. Margarete saw us kiss one day in the hallway. After that, the gossip exploded, whispering, staring, judgment. I tried to ignore it, but it hurt. One day at lunch, I sat alone. No one wanted to share a table. At home, I broke down with Wagner. Maybe it's better if I quit. He looked at me and said firmly, "You're not quitting. You know why? Because you belong here. Because you earned this, not because of me, but because of you." I decided to stay. For me, for Clarinha, for all the other women who feel small every single day. I stayed with the project. I kept growing. The stairs faded over time. But what really remained was what truly mattered. The bond between me, my daughter, and the man who, against all odds, truly saw me. Not as just an employee, not as charity, but as a woman, a mother, someone capable. After some time, Wagner officially asked me to be his girlfriend. "You're the strongest woman I've ever met. I don't want to keep pretending this is just friendship." And I said yes, hesitantly, nervously, but with my heart open. We don't live together yet. He respects my pace, but he's part of our lives every single day. Today, Clarinha is almost 2 years old. She calls him Tata, sometimes Daddy. He never asked for that, never pushed it, but she feels it, and so does he. His eyes well up every time he hears it. We've built our own routine, dinners at home, weekends at the park, plans, lots of plans. I went back to school. I'm studying human resources with a scholarship I earned through my own merit. And yes, with his help, organizing my time. He supports me in everything, not as a savior, but as a partner, someone who walks beside me, who holds my hand, who reminds me of what I'm capable of. Sometimes I look back and remember that day in the boss's office, me, desperate, with Clarinha at my breast. And I think, what if he had reacted differently? What if he'd fired me? What if he thought it was inappropriate? Our lives would have taken a completely different path. But he didn't just see a scene, he saw a story. And he chose to be part of it. Today, I don't feel invisible anymore. I'm not just the cleaning lady. I'm Joanna, a mother, a student, a professional, a woman. And I'm loved, truly loved. Not because I became someone else, but because someone had the courage to see who I already was. This story is still being written. Every day is a new chapter. There are hard days, of course. Motherhood doesn't take breaks. Adulthood doesn't either. But now, when Clarinha smiles, when she runs into his arms, when she calls me to watch a cartoon on our tiny couch, I know it was all worth it. Sometimes love shows up when you least expect it. Sometimes it walks through the door without knocking and changes everything. And that's why I decided to share this today. Because even though it may sound like something out of a movie, it really happened. On an ordinary day, with ordinary people, with real love. And to this day, I still remember that moment. The door opening, Clarinha in my arms, and a man who didn't look away, who stayed, and who saw me.